Grateful to have you all here joining us. It is my honor to be able to introduce the first storyteller of the day. His name is Rishi Jain. He is Liverpool's FC's Director of Impact. He leads the club's approach, right? Yeah! Woo! Awesome. So he leads the club's approach to sustainability through the lens of equality, diversity, inclusion, and environmental sustainability. Rishi has worked in partnership with the United Nations and has also worked with multiple international organizations to implement plans of action across the world. He has countered hate speech through engagement with sport. He has earned multiple awards and gained significant recognition throughout his career. Let's please give him a huge round of applause and welcome him onto our stage. Thanks, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. That is honestly the best introduction I've ever had. Can you send that to me, please? I'm going to use it in every single room that I walk into. Just be like, this is me. So yeah, I'm Rishi Jain, Director of Impact at Liverpool Football Club. It's a great job. It's my team. It's an absolute honour and a privilege to work for Liverpool Football Club. And my responsibility is to lead the Red Way, which is our overarching approach to sustainability. And it's super holistic. It's super important to us as a football club, but actually it really is embedded into all that we do. But before I really get into that, I sort of wanted to kick off, and I suppose this was the hard bit when the brief was given to me, to talk a bit about me and sort of my career and the journey that I've been on. So I literally kicked off my career at Liverpool Football Club at the age of 14, which I think in hindsight, was that a lot? I don't know. It was a lot. We roll with it. That was almost 20 years ago now. You meant to say you don't look it, Rishi, but whatever. Whatever. Thank you very much. And actually, that was in a volunteer capacity working with what was then Liverpool FC in the community, which is now Liverpool FC Foundation. And that was, as a school kid, literally supporting the coaching team. So that was picking up cones, sorting bibs out, trying to support the coaching team as much as I possibly could. And it was, for me, going through school and doing something like that, it taught me a lot, but also it taught me a lot about life. I'm literally getting changed into like coaching kits on the back of a bus on the way home from school because that was part of the gig, and I absolutely loved it and had some great opportunities and experiences as part of that. As my sort of experience and my confidence level grew, then I started to take on more responsibility, and that was when I moved into a position where I'm then delivering these football coaching sessions to young people across the city of Liverpool. Some of them are the same age as me, some of them are older than me, and again, I'm a bit like, okay, this is a new challenge, it's not really what you used to, but again, something that I really enjoyed. That continued for me, going through a few years of education, through school, etc. As I said, I continued to get changed on the back of that bus, in the back of people's cars, etc., because that's just what you did. That was it, literally used to get picked up after school in a minibus, sit at the back, change to my coaching kit, and then off you go, and that's just what you do. And I loved it. It was just an incredible opportunity. But when I turned 16, so a couple of years later, and bear in mind, this was only meant to be a 2-week sort of placement for what's called the Duke of Edinburgh Award, which a lot of you will know about. 2 weeks, and then they couldn't get rid of me. And I was like, great, I'll just stay. This is brilliant, really enjoying it. 2 years later, lucky enough to get paid. I was like, brilliant, getting paid literally for my dream job, for my football club, to coach football, to work with young people. And you'll hear as I talk, that's something that I'm really passionate about, and that's where sort of my feet are very much grounded in sort of community work. But I was literally being paid to represent my club, the club that I would go and watch as much as I possibly could, the players that I would go and sing for, etc., and wear that badge. So I was like, I'd made it at the age of 16, which I most definitely had not, and most definitely have not in the work that I'm doing now. Going through sixth form, college, university, stuck out with Liverpool, stayed in Liverpool for many, many reasons, stayed close to home with family, which are obviously very important to me. And after university, that presented me with a great opportunity to move into social cohesion, social inclusion work. And that's where the real diversity lens and focus started to sort of come into my mindset a little bit then, because I hadn't done up until that point. I think going through university, that was the first time, stayed in Liverpool but lived away. That was the first time that I really experienced like true diversity. Like I grew up in a predominantly white neighbourhood in Liverpool. Me, sisters, mum and dad were pretty much only like non-white faces that you'd really see, give or take one or two others. And I wasn't very conscious of that until did university and met other people who looked like me, thought like me, were very different to me, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. Because Liverpool is a hugely diverse city, it is, and it's something that the city is really proud of. Where we lived and where we grew up absolutely wasn't, and it wasn't that there. So for me, with parents from India, yes, we were all born in the UK, but the Indian culture is still very much part of like who we are and what we do, and especially those of you who will know, grandparents, they're the ones who hammer it into you. They're the ones who say, right, must do this, must do this, must do this. But actually now, looking back, I'm super grateful for that because that's really shaped a lot of who I am and what I think about and the work that I do today. So go forward to after university, continue to work throughout that time, have these great opportunities, get to travel internationally, get to work with a team of many, many diverse coaches, got the opportunity to lead that team. And I was like, great, let's do it. Let's see what that's like. And again, I'm like, I thought I'd made it at 16, but now I'm leading a team, 25 people of the most diverse coaches you could possibly find in the city of Liverpool. We were delivering 100 hours of coaching and football sessions to young people across the city. We were bringing together all these different communities. We were doing these sessions every single week, bringing them all together on a monthly basis and like, right, let's actually break down some of those barriers. And we did that, and it was incredible, and it was something that I really thought, this is starting to tick more than one box for me. It's starting to tick my personal drivers rather than my professional drivers. But I'll be really honest, I knew that football coaching wasn't, at that point I became really self-aware enough to realise that football coaching wasn't the thing that would continue to get me out of bed in the morning. I'll be really honest, I wasn't good enough at it. I enjoyed the engagement side, I enjoy working with young people in disadvantaged communities, but with a ball at my feet, please don't throw a ball at my feet because it will only end badly. The last time I did that, I actually broke my leg, but that's a different story. Self-inflicted as well, but we'll move on. But I always knew that wasn't which was going to take me to the rest of my career. And having that moment was actually a really important one for me because it also coincided with senior colleagues at the club. And bear in mind, I'm still working for Foundation at this point. David on the previous panel talked about like ED&I work, sustainability work has to sit with clubs rather than foundations. They said, oh, Rishi, what do you think of this equality standard framework? I was like, oh, hand it over, let's have a little look. And for me, it was that light bulb, like, okay, this is me. This is a framework set by the football regulators to embed diversity and inclusion into the business. And at that time, diversity and inclusion was very much it was about being the first to do things. It was about sticking on a certain T-shirt. It was about, right, this campaign is coming up, you need to deliver this, this, this. Whereas now it's obviously moved on a lot. And like we did some incredible things as a football club. So first UK football club to be involved in the Pride March back in 2012. That's massive. Like that's something we'll always point to and go, that's great. It's a really important part of our history. And to be able to deliver events like that is something that I look back on and go, great, we did something, we made a real difference. And then it became sort of time to leave. 9.5 years at LFC, enjoyed them, literally grew up there, went from the age of 14 to sort of 23, if my maths is correct. People literally see me in my uniform, like coming to sessions. And that was great, but when I moved into a position where I needed to try and influence change and business change, it was very easy to say no to me. Because like, oh, it's little Rishi, I'm 6'2". I'm like, oh, it's little Rishi, and you get the cheek pinch, you'd be like, oh, he's all right. Like that, and you know what, it was never malicious, but it was actually time for me to go, right, I need to go and learn more about myself. Took on the new role of Kick It Out. For those who don't know what Kick It Out is, football's equality and inclusion campaign, but with a real focus on anti-racism. Great organisation, they do some incredible work, small budget success rate to charity, so it's tough. My remit was working with the 72 Football League clubs. So that involved huge amounts of train travel, away from home a lot. You're going into organisations trying to embed standards and practices, but you're going into an organisation with 5 members of staff who are all volunteers, and the next day you're in an organisation which has got 300, and their sole driver is promotion to the Premier League. That's all they're focused about. And you have to bring them up to the same levels. You have to manipulate's the wrong word. You have to influence, you have to challenge, you have to collaborate, you have to deliver training. But actually, that was really eye-opening experience for me. Bear in mind, that's also a time where the UK is going through huge political division around Brexit as well. I'm there, train traveling, let's be honest, backpack, laptops, phones, chargers. You saw the eyes on me, if I'm being really honest. You go into certain communities and I would again be the only brown face or black or non-white face in that area, and people would be like, when you're walking past, because that's what the UK was at that time, and unfortunately is in some pockets as well. But those heightened racial tensions going into those sort of environments, and then going, right, I'm here to deliver change. You weren't met with pushback by the football clubs. You were met with actually open arms and going, right, let's make a difference together, because those football clubs saw the opportunity of their sphere of influence, their impact, to be able to make a real difference in terms of what they did. That was great. 2016, 3 years later, moved to Man United. Normally people gasp. You gasped? She literally gasped. And Man United was incredible. 5 years. She's just so shocked. Yeah. Man United was great. Great organisation to work for. Great to work for a football club in a way that you don't support, because you go in and you're completely objective. Did some incredible things there. Always proud to sort of work with so many colleagues and deliver what we delivered. As a club, we really took on the challenge and, not challenge, really took on the responsibility of fighting online abuse and discrimination, mainly out of necessity. Our players then, Man United players, were on the receiving end of it. Ashley Young, Marcus Rashford, Paul Pogba at the time were literally getting this abuse on social media every single week, and it was horrific, and we were seeing it, and we hadn't actually felt that we had a responsibility to challenge what was happening to them. So we did that. We took it on. We took the social media companies head on, and it was actually great to be part of something so much bigger, using the power of the Manchester United badge and the influence that we had, and go, right, banging your fist on the table, literally in some cases being like, right, let's do something. Side by side, I'm a CEO who's like, yeah, let's do something. Let's make it happen. And that's powerful when you've got the most powerful person in the football club. Literally, he's got my back every single minute and be like, right, let's go and do it. And that was great. And you know what? Really enjoyed it. And working there, did a total of 5 years, went through COVID, lived through COVID. It was one of those times I'll always look back and be like, that really helped me shape who I am. Loads about myself, loads about my values, what I liked, what I didn't like. I had different bosses, some brilliant, some not so brilliant. But you know what? That's life. That's what we all have. And then after 5 years, the knock on the door is like, what do you think about coming back to Liverpool? And I'll be honest, I was always like, don't know, is it right? Are you going to delete the last 8 years of your career? Are you going to go back to being little Rishi with your cheeks pinched? Or are you going to be like, this is who I am, I'm actually an adult now, I can grow a bit of stubble, and things like that. And honestly, it's been incredible. 2021, rejoined the club. I kept in contact with friends, former colleagues. My wife works at Liverpool, so she's happy because she gets to live to work sometimes when our schedules align. But actually, it was an opportunity to come in with a brief to go put us in a leadership position. With the true diversity inclusion lens, put us in a leadership position and put us where we feel we need to be. Talked on the previous panel about the expectations on the football club and the fact that I see that as an opportunity, because fans and our stakeholders expect us to be the best and absolutely lead on and off the pitch. So actually that was the remit, and I'd be honest, I really feel like we've been able to do that from a diversity inclusion lens. You've gone from sort of looking at other clubs and thinking what they do is great, and then now looking at my own football club and being like, what we do is great. Is it done? Is it complete? Absolutely not. There's a hell of a lot more work for us to do, but actually, am I proud of what I've achieved in those past 2 years? Absolutely. So 2 years later, and the reason why I'm here today, another knock on the door, thankfully from a colleague in my own organisation, being like, what do you think about taking on the Red Way? LSC's approach to sustainability. And I'm like, it's big. And they were like, yeah, it's big. And I was like, let's do it. That was it. That was the end of the conversation. Let's make it happen. And it's been an incredible opportunity for me personally, but actually to marry up our approach to diversity, inclusion, and sustainability, I genuinely think that's what sets us apart as an organisation, not just from sports teams, but from many other organisations who are activating in this space. And I suppose the reason why is, like, we're a football club who's built on its values. Like, people expect us to talk to difficult topics. The city of Liverpool is a city that is built on helping others and supporting disadvantaged communities and giving each other a helping hand, and that's very much ingrained within our football club. And our sustainability approach, with the diversity inclusion lens, with the communities pillar, with the planet pillar, is a truly holistic one. So our foundation launched their impact report on Monday, engaged with 123,000 different people over the season. Their return on value was 1 to 13. So for every pound that's invested, they did £13 worth of good. It's absolutely incredible, the work that Matt Parrish and the team do every single day. And I talk about that with passion because that's where I came from. I came from that community skiing, that foundation all those years ago. And actually, if there's anything I can ever do to support them, I always will absolutely do that. But that's not just me as a person. I think that's also us as a football club. So when we activate and we talk about the Red Way and we're talking on stages like this, you'll always hear me, if you hear me speak again, you'll always hear me try and merge the conversation around diversity, inclusion, sustainability. Because for me, that's a conversation that has to happen hand in hand. Because if it doesn't, I generally think we're missing an absolute trick in the way that we're doing it. And for us, when we bring the Red Way and sustainability to life, it's very much around how do we do that in a way that touches our local, national, and international communities. Those three pillars, they allow us to do that, working with partners, with stakeholders. It allows us to really leverage up certain messaging with those commercial partners, but also with our stakeholders in the local community. So to be able to do that in a way where we can deliver employability programs, where we can implement our biodiversity schemes, where we can be the only football club who holds the British Standard ISO 2012-1 and be really proud of that. But even more importantly than that, where we as Liverpool Football Club have taken our responsibility to talk to the most important topics across people, planet and communities, that's where we feel we can really cut through. And actually that's why I personally feel, and hopefully the powers that be in LFC agree, that it sort of makes this role perfect for me and me perfect for this role, because I can look at it and go, okay, what's that different perspective? My counterparts at Premier League clubs, we're all hugely different. We've all got different roles. Some of them are like super technical sustainability experts. Like, I'll be honest, that is not me. That is not my strong point. I'm learning. I'm literally took this new role on about 6 months ago. So I'm learning every day, and I've learned so much in the past couple of days. But actually, where I feel we can make a difference is actually how do we tell that story, use the power and the influence that Liverpool Football Club has to change people's mindsets. Like, speaking to this stage is incredible, and the attention that I'm getting is, I'm really honoured by that, but actually how can we then take this voice, my voice, our leaders' voices, our most recognisable voices, and speak to audiences that maybe aren't as engaged in sustainability? And that's the responsibility and that's the opportunity that we have as one of the biggest football clubs in the world. That coincides with the Red Way report. Like, that is probably the most transparent and open we've probably ever been about anything. Like, football, clubs, sports, etc. There's an ultimate pressure to present this super finished, high-polished article and go, right, this is the finished product. Don't worry about the 5 years it's taken us to get all the challenges that we made. Just focus on the nice, shiny bit over here. We're actually, what we've done is with the Red Way report, and I can't take too much credit for that because it was the work of predecessors, we've gone, this is where we're at. Being open about our carbon numbers, being open about our diversity targets, being open about where we want to be open about where our challenges are, really importantly, and actually that's opened the door to some really meaningful and open conversations. So if anyone ever asks me, I'd love to know more about what you do, I literally just send them a link. And that's not me trying to get out of a conversation. You can tell I don't mind the sound of my own voice by the fact that I'm doing this, but actually to be able to just go, you want to know everything, you want to see what's behind the curtain, have a look, it's on the website. That's actually something which I take a lot of pride in, being able to do that. And every time that we report, we will continue to be as open as we possibly can. And the challenge that we've set colleagues, and I've set myself, is how can we be even more open? Not necessarily about our successes, but really about our challenges, because we're facing the same challenges. Sport is facing the same challenges around its fan travel, its impact on the environment, diversity in the workforce, the biodiversity piece, absolutely everything. And in some places we're doing pretty well, in some places we're doing not so well, and that's completely fine. But actually, to be able to open that door and go, we might need a little bit of a helping hand, we'll do that. We'll do it, because actually that's how we're only going to make the world a better place. I think my final point, really, to try and sort of compile my ramblings into one, is really is a point that is really important to me, and it won't be a surprise, but it's very much an open question or an open thought, I suppose, about how we, or how any organisation embeds its diversity inclusion efforts within its environmental sustainability ones. Because if we're asking people to think differently, be different, come up with positive solutions, try and make the world a better place, you are absolutely not going to do that without diversity in the room. You're not going to do that within echo chambers of people who are who are super like-minded like you, or people who come from the same background, the same education, same family status, etc. It's a fact, it's not going to happen. You actually need and want that diversity of thought in the room, who will be that person or people who go, you know what, have you thought of this, or have you thought of it doing it differently? Like the disruptors, the agitators, the difficult people, you know what, I embrace it. I'm very much a person who goes, you know what, if you think I'm wrong, just tell me. But don't just tell me that I'm wrong, then let's work together to be part of the solution. And I think any organisation, regardless of the goals, can definitely do more in that. I think for me, you can't do one without the other. And my intention here today is not to sit here or stand here, say, and go, oh, look how great we are, look our Liverpool Football Club. I will never do that. Hopefully our work will speak for itself and the things that we're good at and the work that we need to do more and will also speak for itself. But hopefully it's been a conversation or a talk that you've enjoyed, and hopefully it's left you with a couple of thoughts about how you could maybe embed diversity, inclusion topics and thoughts into your own work as we all sort of try to make the world a better place. Thank you. Yeah, of course, yeah. I'll take questions. What's faster?
Thank you so much. I was wondering, it's your first COP.
Yes.
What have you learned since you've been here? What's kind of made you go, whoa, the world is super
except for
behind?
the heat.
Except for the heat. Except for the heat.
Yeah.
And what are you really excited that you have heard and that you're kind of like, ooh, this is stuff that we can build on, that we can incorporate?
Yeah. So Amber, as you say, first COP, came into it completely open-eyed, just what's it going to be like. I'll be honest, I didn't appreciate, even though I knew, well, I thought I knew, how much we can learn from other sports. Like you sat on panels with like people like Fee Morgan from LGP and Adventurers and MotoGP and all these incredible brands. And actually, I'm like, well, their problems are pretty similar to ours. Yes, they were set up completely differently. They were set up to be sustainable, but that doesn't discredit anything that they do, actually. It just shows how good you can be if you focus on it in the right way. So for me, I've got reams of notes where I'm saying, right, need to speak to this person, need to speak to this person, need to see if I can get a day with them. Because that's the type of thing that we need to do. We've got challenges across multiple efforts, and they seem to be just, not seem to be, but they've managed to bypass those challenges, so we can learn from them. I think the thing that's really sort of opened my eyes about here is the spirit of collaboration that you definitely see across the Green Zone. I don't quite know what I expected. I probably expected, I know there are pockets of it, more exhibitions where you're being told how great organisations are. But what I've seen, especially on this stage and the work that we've done here, is that people are really open about, like, this is where we're at. With future sport, David Guido was like, it's not looking great, is it? We don't have that many conversations in sport around not saying things are great. As I said earlier, it's always about that, look at all the good stuff, look at all this, don't worry about this. So actually, that's really opened my eyes, and hopefully future COPs, if we're invited, if we have the opportunity to be at, hopefully we can continue that conversation. And if we're stood here or wherever it's going to be next year, I'll be able to say, you know what, we've made progress, but we've still got a bit more to do. Can show of hands anyone who can help us with that?
How could you go to Manchester United? And then actually my question is more about sort of the Liverpool community. How much do you find that you need to lead the way? Are the fans demanding you make changes around sustainability, or are you finding you're having to lead them? So just where is some of the community at on this? To be curious.
Thank you. To be honest, it's a bit of a two-way street. We are finding now that fans are asking more of us, what you do for Green Football Weekend, what you do for World Earth Day. And it's great for us to be able to say, well, we're doing this. And part of it, I would say, is because we've gone out there with the Red Way and we've told people, like, we are committed to sustainability. I do wonder how different it would be if we hadn't said anything or done anything on sustainability, whether people would still be asking us. But as I said earlier, I think there is absolutely an expectation on us as employees, as a football club, to speak to topics that are values-driven. And you could argue sustainability isn't values-driven, it's data-driven, but to be sustainable, I would say, is also a value in itself, because you're either into it from a passion perspective or you're not. That's why I do my job, it's out of passion, really. That's why everyone leads sustainability in a way, because they're passionate about what they do. I think fans are asking us more questions now, but in that ultimate spirit of collaboration, which is great. They're saying to us, right, what can we do together to be more? So we've got a supporters board, which is a group of like engaged fans that we work with closely in an official capacity. Their chair, he's hugely big advocate of sustainability, both personally and professionally. He sits on a number of boards around that. So when we work closely and speak with him regularly about, right, what is the fan voice? What would fans like to see? We've got a few goals in the Red Way in our KPIs to make our fans sort of more aware of what we do, and we're very ambitious in that. For me, we're actually tweaking that slightly to not just talk about awareness, but also talk about engagement. Because that's the important part, that you can make everyone aware. It's Liverpool Football Club. It's like a badge on it, you talk about it, loads of people are like, oh yeah, I saw that, or saw this player do this. But actually, if we can engage with them and use the influence that we have to maybe affect some of their decision-making processes or the way they do things, or even do one tiny small change when you're working with the numbers that we are, it could actually make a real difference. Done? Oh.
Rishi, every year there is a change of team kit, home team, away kit, and something in between kit. And of course, kit, merchandise is a huge part of any sporting club's revenue. So where does that end of season disposal of stock fit in the overall scheme of an impact report at a club like Liverpool?
Thanks, Phil. Definitely, disposal is not the right word to use, because actually the majority, if not all of that kit, goes into LFC Foundation, and they would distribute that across the world. So actually, that kit is obviously from a player related, it's like super high performance, it's built to last, etc. That actually goes into communities literally across the entire world. We have multiple charity partners to make sure that goes to the right place as well. And that's great, and you know what, yeah, we do have 3 kits here, we have multiple training kits, and are we going to change that? No, but Nike, or our kit provider, they do have sustainable options within their sort of range. I think a couple of years ago we had a fully recycled kit, remember rightly, but as Lucas said on the earlier panel, it's a great visual to say we've got that, but what sits behind it. So for us, actually, we've got really strong targets around our sort of merch supply chain and the work that we do with LFC products. It's not actually just about the kits. We've got a huge retail range that sits behind that, and we're introducing more and more sustainable practices into the stuff that we can control. But to answer your question specifically, that kit literally gets bagged up, goes to all 4 corners of the world, to the most deserving communities, and it's quite nice actually. You get back these pictures of these hugely sort of, in some cases, disadvantaged communities, and you're seeing them with a Liverpool top on, and you're literally making Liverpool fans by doing that. Sometimes you see other clubs, and I'm like, could we just edit that out of that picture? But in all honesty, like, it's brilliant, because you could go to somewhere in any part of the world, and you might see someone with a shirt, and you'd be like, how did you get that? But it's because it's made its way through a charity partner, through the engagement that we're able to do.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.